If you're overweight and you're trying to reduce body fat and get down to a goal weight and sort of do a body recomposition so you feel better about how your body looks and feels, one of the first things you changed was probably your diet. Now, if you've implemented the stereotypical healthy diet, the common wisdom of what a healthy diet looks like, and you can't seem to stick to the diet, and you're in that yo-yo scenario where you do it strict for a week and then you fall off the wagon and you mitigate any benefit, you're going to want to ask yourself, does the diet you've chosen and been influenced by society and government recommendations fulfill these three things? And if it doesn't, it's not an effective diet, and that's the reason why it's not working. So the first thing is, the diet needs to be satiating. A diet that doesn't fulfill your hunger you're not going to be able to stick to it. So when you eat the food, it can't leave you hungry straight away afterwards. You need to eat food and then be completely satiated and full, and not be thinking about food and not feel hungry for long periods of time. So certain foods will do that, and other foods have the opposite effect. They increase hunger and you're hungry all the time. So is the current diet leaving you hungry? And to reduce body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So you're eating less calories than you're used to. And if you're eating less calories than you're used to and you're hungry all the time, that's not a sustainable diet. So a diet that you can't stick to is not an effective diet. So if you're hungry all the time, you can use willpower to some degree, but at a certain point, you're gonna give in. Because if willpower was all you needed, don't even do a diet, just fast until you can calculate how much body fat you have and how many calories are stored in body fat. There's 3,500 calories per pound of body fat. So if you've got 10 pounds of body fat that you're trying to lose, that's 35,000 calories. Now, if you just fast for a number of days or weeks, that would use up that stored body fat. But willpower isn't the only factor, so that's why you can't just fast until all your fat's gone, because you won't die. You can safely do that, but you can't do that because you don't have enough willpower. Your diet needs to be satiating. If you've changed from eating Big Macs to now you eat salads, and the Big Macs filled you up because you was eating them so frequently and you was in a calorie surplus, you just ate whenever you was hungry, and now you're eating salads and you're hungry all the time, that's not a sustainable and effective diet. Number 2, is your diet nutritious? Now, you need nutrient-dense food. Your body doesn't care about calories. It doesn't say, oh, I've had my 2,000 calories for the day, I'm not hungry anymore. It just cares about, have I taken on nutrition so that I can build the cells and regenerate this body. The supermarkets now and all of the food we have access to is full of empty calories, and the body will keep making you hungry because it might have 1,000 calories worth of, I don't know, a chocolate cake, but there was no nutrition in it, or very little. So the body is still saying, right, you need to go get more food because there was no nutrition. You might have met your calorie needs for the day, but there's no nutrition. So is your diet nutrient dense? And you think eating salads, this was my logical reasoning. I went, right, I'm eating processed food, which is lacking in nutrition. It's high calories, low nutrition. I need to eat healthy foods. Stereotypically, I went with salads, fruit and veg, nuts, seeds, grains, and the odd bit of meat and fish, thinking that was nutrient dense. The problem is it's not bioavailable. So is your diet nutritious, and are the nutrients bioavailable? Vegetables don't have any defense against predators. Vegetables don't want to be eaten. They're an organism that wants to survive, just like everything else, and they can't run away. So the defenses they have, they will put physical defenses on their structure. So like a rose doesn't want to be eaten or broken, so it will have thorns. You'll have a lot of spikes on a rose, and it keeps predators away. The other thing they do is implement defense chemicals in the leaves and stems. So that plant doesn't want to be eaten, and there are nutrients present in the plant, but there are also anti-nutrients or defense chemicals. So it makes the nutrition in that food a lot less bioavailable. So when you think, oh, I'm moving over to a healthy diet, and you start eating loads of salads, that might not be as good of an idea as you first thought, whereas meat is very bioavailable. I first got on a healthy diet, what I thought was a healthy diet, and it was a load of fruit and veg. And then I started learning about the bioavailability of nutrition, and now a healthy diet to me is all meat. So is your diet nutrient dense? So it's alright being in a calorie deficit and eating a load of spinach and kale. If you're lacking in nutrition, that diet's not effective. And number 3, is it functional? How do you feel when you're eating this diet that you're on? If it leaves you with brain fog, you're lethargic and lazy and can't focus, then that's not a functional diet. If you're always hungry and that's on your mind and you can't be present with the task you're doing, or you have mood swings because you're hangry or whatever it is, then that's also not an effective diet. If we look at the standard American diet and then the healthy diet that you would go on to against these 3 metrics, so is it satiating? The standard American diet obviously isn't satiating. It doesn't fill you up because people overeat when they eat this way, and that's because it's high in carbs. So every meal has carbs with it, and you're as hungry as the amount of carbs in your last meal. So you eat breakfast full of carbs. So 2 hours later you're hungry, so you have a snack. That's going to have carbs in it. And then you're hungry again. So the answer to that one is the standard American diet satiating? No. So that's not effective. What about the healthy diet that you go on to? You start eating a load of salad, fruit and veg. Well, fruit is full of carbs and high sugar. And I don't know about you, but when I eat salad, I don't feel like, oh yeah, I'm full up. That's really satisfied my hunger. So you've changed to a healthy diet and you're still hungry all the time. And eventually you'll run out of willpower and you'll decide to overeat again. So that hasn't solved the problem. So the standard American diet didn't work, or the traditional unhealthy processed food diet. You've moved over to this healthy diet and that hasn't worked either. And I'll suggest a solution to this at the end. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, is the diet nutritious? So the standard American diet, or the traditional unhealthy diet, is processed foods, high sugar, and we know it's not nutritious because they're empty calories. I think we can all kind of accept that now. So then we're going to improve our diet and get on the healthy diet, which is probably the Mediterranean diet. That's what you're going to go for, or something like that. Is it nutritious? Now you need to do your own research, because I've come to the conclusion that a lot of fruit and veg, get your 5 a day. This is the traditional advice, and I'm going against the grain a little bit. I don't think that's nutrient dense. The plants don't want to be eaten. They're defending themselves against you. In nature, animals that eat plants only eat one type of plant. So I don't think plants are an optimal diet for humans. In nature, animals evolve to eat very specific plants. If you take the panda, for example, you might think, oh well, pandas eat plants, so surely that's a healthy diet. 99% of a panda's diet is bamboo. It doesn't eat a variety of plants. It doesn't have tomatoes, cucumber, lettuce, spinach, kale. It eats bamboo most of the time. And I don't believe humans have evolved and have the ability to digest this wide variety of foods. Animals in the wild eat a certain food. A lion will eat meat. It will hunt and eat meat. A panda will eat bamboo. I don't see why humans would be different, and I don't think plants are the optimal diet for humans. So I believe the plant doesn't want to be eaten, it can't run away, it's putting a load of defense chemicals into its cells, then we eat it, it disrupts our digestion, and we can't assimilate the nutrition that's in that. So is the standard American diet or the traditionally unhealthy diet nutritious? No, it's a bunch of empty calories. Is the traditional common wisdom healthy diet, let's just say the Mediterranean diet, is that nutrient dense? Well, you're eating a load of plants that don't want to be eaten, that have defense chemicals and anti-nutrients. So no. So although you've solved the problem with a healthy diet, it hasn't fulfilled our second factor of what a effective diet is. So now we'll go on to the third point. Is it functional? When you eat the standard American diet or the traditionally unhealthy diet, does your brain function at a high level, or do you have brain fog all the time? Are you lethargic and lazy because you've got that post-meal kind of heaviness? Chances are the answer is yes. What about when you transition to the healthy diet? Are you crystal clear, you're not hungry, so you're fully focused, you're not worried about food, you feel satisfied? Or is food always on your mind? You had a salad and now you just can't wait for lunch and you're counting down the minutes and the hours until you can have your next meal, but you're still hungry and you didn't quite eat enough. And because you're in a calorie restriction, your meals are so small and they're not satisfying you, so it's always on your mind. You've got headaches or whatever the case may be. Is it functional? Can you thrive on that diet, or are you constantly wanting to get cravings? So cravings are a sign that your diet doesn't fulfill the functional thing, because you shouldn't be thinking about a diet that actually works. If it was functional, you wouldn't think about it. You just eat your next meal when it's time. Does your unhealthy diet do that? Does the traditionally healthy diet do that? Probably the answer is no to both of those. So this was the struggle I had. I went from overeating massively and eating loads of processed unhealthy foods, and it's obvious that isn't a good idea. So if you're fat, you know that processed foods are not a good idea. So you transition and you go, right, I need to sort my diet out, so I'm going to implement a healthy diet. What's a healthy diet? Fruit and veg, nuts, seeds, grains, some fish and meat, and a bit of dairy maybe. The Mediterranean diet, or whatever your doctor prescribes. So you think, right, I'll get on this healthy diet. And it doesn't fulfill any of those things. It needs to be satiating, but you're hungry all the time. It needs to be nutritious, but you're hungry all the time, so your body's saying there was no nutrition in that meal. And it needs to be functional, but you're constantly craving the food that you used to eat and you can't focus on anything. You're angry because you're on a diet, you're hungry, and you've got mood swings. So it doesn't actually work. That's not an effective diet. You're on what everybody considers a healthy diet, and it doesn't work. So the solution I come to, and this is the only solution I've found, and I believe it's the answer, having tried all these things, I've tried being vegan, I've tried being vegetarian, I've tried fasting, I did a 9-day fast, loads of different things. What works? The answer I came to is, and it kind of goes in stages, first of all, the ketogenic diet. You need to remove carbs from your diet, and then the second part of that is just get on a carnivore diet. If you don't have ethical reasons why you can't do that, then that's the solution to your problem. And if you do have ethical reasons why you can't do that, then you just have to accept that you're on a suboptimal diet. That's fine. There are some things that I'm not willing to do, like steroids. I want to get big and muscular, but I'm not willing to do steroids, so I know I'm not going to get that result. And if that's the case for you, if you're not willing to eat meat, then there is a price you'll pay for that. Let's look at the keto carnivore diet against these 3 metrics. Is it satiating? The answer to that is yes. You're as hungry as the amount of carbs in your last meal, and there are no carbs on a keto diet, so you're never hungry. And I know that sounds mad, but you'd have to try it to realise it. Also, the keto carnivore diet is high fat and protein. They are very satiating macronutrients, and your body transitions from running off of glucose, which is sugar, to running off of ketones, and it taps into stored body fat. So your body knows that you have thousands and thousands of calories worth of stored body fat, so it doesn't need to be hungry. It doesn't need to seek out more food, because you've got 10 meals attached to your body already. But when you're running off sugar, it just says, right, get more sugar, we're running out of sugar. But as soon as you transition over to ketones, your body goes, oh, well, we've got plenty of ketones, we've stored it here, and it will use that first. Is the keto and carnivore diet satiating? It is. That's why you can do 2 meals a day, or even 1 meal a day, and it's quite easy. There's a transition period where you will struggle because you're still running off sugar. As soon as you deplete all that sugar and you transition over to ketones, you'll be fine. What about metric number 2? Is it nutritious? And for keto and carnivore, I believe the answer is yes. You're not dealing with plants which have anti-nutrients. You're not dealing with processed foods which lack nutrition because they're hyper-processed and they're just empty calories. They're just sugar, essentially. You're eating meat, which has a defense. It can run away. You have to run after this animal and capture it to eat the nutrition. So it's already defended itself. It's not going to embed a defense chemical or a system of repelling a predator into the food. So it's very nutrient dense. If you believe that humans have survived through ice ages, they wouldn't have been eating plants. They would have been eating animals. These are highly nutritious foods. And people think, oh, I need this vitamin and that vitamin, and I can get that in kale, and then this other vitamin is in spinach. And we've kind of been brainwashed that meat lacks nutrition. Whereas liver, every time somebody says, oh, what about this, what about that? I just do some research and I find that nutrient in meat. Liver has all the vitamins and minerals you need, as far as I can tell. Does it fulfill the nutrition side? And the answer is yes. And if you're loading your body up on nutrition, meat, eggs and fats, they're so nutrient dense and they're full of energy. So fat has more calories per gram than protein and carbs. So it's nutrient dense anyway. It's already more full of nutrition because it's got double the amount of energy in it. So it fulfills our second criteria. It is nutritious. And that's going to suppress hunger anyway, because once you load up on nutrition, your body knows it doesn't need to seek out more food. It's already sorted. It's got plenty of fuel to work with. What about the third criteria? It needs to be functional. I've played with many different diets, and I am always less functional on, well, anything that isn't keto and carnivore. The reason is, when you're in ketosis and you're eating a carnivore diet, you're running off of ketones. You have no brain fog. You're not hungry because your body's full of nutrition and you've got that high fat, low carbs. You don't have any cravings because you haven't eaten carbs. It's just optimal. So the conclusion I've come to is the only diet that fulfills these criteria is carnivore keto. So that would be my solution. So from my personal experience, I've gone through all the diets and and it's very difficult actually to unwire all of the teaching from society and just general knowledge. Everyone knows fruits and veg are healthy. So to rewire that and go, oh no, all you need is meat, is very difficult. So if you haven't got any ethical reasons why you can't try this diet, and you've tried everything else and you just can't seem to reduce your weight and get it under control, this is probably the solution. And chances are you haven't tried this yet. So you can't write it off as, oh no, that doesn't work, until you've tried it. So give it a go, at least 3 weeks, and I hope that helps. Let me know how you get on. Chop wood, carry water. See you tomorrow.